Welcome to another episode of High Voltage Diesel. Hang on to your armchairs and get ready to have a meltdown as you watch the new videos. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Rod.
Rod who?
Connecting rod. Welcome to another episode of High Voltage Diesel, where we are going to start doing stand-up comedy here. Because we have seemed to trigger somebody in one of the comments, and he says, I am not a comedian and I am not funny. So here we go. Let's introduce you to Rod Connecting. Yeah, I said that just the way you heard it.
Chances are that was probably the last noise that this 3406 cat made. Oh yeah. So those of you that have been watching my channel know that this is the engine, the 3406A Caterpillar. That's out of the 1981 Peterbilt 359 that I replaced with the B model. And today we are going to be taking it apart. Well, taking it apart more than what it already is. I had to take this apart this much just to get it out of the truck because my skid steer wouldn't lift it complete. So I had to tear it down and get it out of the truck. And that I had to lighten it up that much. So anyway, the head and stuff like that is in good shape. But anyway, I want to tear this down because the block's junk. Chances are the crank might be junk, maybe. But this has a brand new water pump and it looks like an aftermarket or maybe used good oil cooler on it. And it just so happens that the A model in the 69 International needs a friggin' water pump.
So yep, here we are. We're about to trigger some gear jammers and take this thing apart, so let's get to it.
So the plan is just to tear down. Just start dropping bolts. Put them in the bucket. I'm a millennial, so I had to put rubber gloves on because I don't want to hurt my little fingers. If I cut my finger open, I won't be able to work for like a week. Use the right tool for the right job. Water pump gear looks pretty darn good, actually. You know, I've had so many comments, oh, you ought to just take the A model out of your International and put a B model in there. You know what, man? I have had nothing but good luck with A models. You know, they're simple. They're easy to work on. You know what? For what I'm doing, I love A models. I really do. I love B models too, don't get me wrong. I like all of them. Well, all the way up from A to the 3406E. After that, they turned into nothing but complicated junk. And the C was pretty much complicated junk. But I understand, Cat. It's alright. You had to loathe and please the EPA to try to keep up with things. So anyway, we're just gonna keep dropping stuff here. Don't worry, guys, I'm CAT certified. I don't want to trigger anybody. Man, these are super easy to work on when they're out of the truck. You do a job like this when the motor's in the truck, it's a pain right in the butt. There it is. You know, it's hard. This thing is so covered in grease you can't even see any of the bolts. Like stuff like this is really useful to have if you need it. These motors are getting harder to find. Parts are getting harder to find every day. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the block, I don't think that block is fixable. I actually believe this water pump should come right off now. Oh yeah. Ah. All right. There. I've done a lot of simple overhauls on these things. I've done water pumps and stuff like that. Feels good. Little weep hole still has the little piece of foam in it. Everything actually looks good on this water pump. Put it in the old International and see what happens. Yeah, we're gonna pull some of these lifters out now. Yeah. There we go. Full of water. Look at that. They look really good though. Wow, I gotta say they look really, really good. These are handy to keep around, you never know. Hopefully, we'll see if the cam's wiped out on this thing. I doubt it. This guy beat the crap out of this truck. I could just see that. See if anything looks interesting. Good. 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 Yep. Good. 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 All right. I know some of these A, B, and C models have a little bit of a reputation of this keeper breaking right here and the lifter spinning and then the cam going about it the wrong way and then completely wiping the cam out, but everything looks good on this one. Say everything looks really good in this motor other than what happened to it. All kinds of go-go juice out of there. That's what's nice about a stone floor. Now we can really get a look and see. Woo! Wee! Look at that. There's your problem. Oh, that's right, I'm not a comedian. I forgot. I don't want to trigger anybody thinking I'm funny. Man, that's nuts. Yeah, this block is wasted. Wow. That must have made one hell of a noise when that came apart. Man, that's insane. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. It is comedy hour here at High Voltage Diesel. Let's check out our first contestant. The piston in this Caterpillar engine went full Harbor Freight and it split. Get it? It split because it went full Harbor Freight. So let's check out our contestant. Step right up. Look at this split right there. That thing went full Harbor Freight on us. And it made out with the valve too. It kissed the valve. Yeah, that thing got whacked. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. All right, got the front structure, I think, ready to come off. Get a pry bar down in here. Gotta overcome the seal. There we go. All right. There we go. Now we got her. Look at that. Yeah, the rest of the gear train is all exposed now. Let's see if we got any chewed up tooth. This engine actually looks really good. I gotta say, this engine looks really, really good. Everything in this, except for that connecting rod and the block. I don't know. This thing still had antifreeze in it when I got it. So I know it didn't blow through any of the water jackets. Any of the oil galleys, I'm not really sure where they would be located. I know there's a drain right there, but I don't think there's any pressurized oil on this side of the block. You know, technically, this could probably be repaired. This block, I don't know. I don't think I would trust it. But you could probably get something and weld a plate in here and repair this block, honestly. But I don't think I'd really recommend doing that unless you really didn't care. You're gonna do all that, you're gonna spend $8,000 on all new internals, or plus more than that, and then on a block that's probably compromised. So yeah, I don't think I'd do that unless it was like a last resort. Let's see if this will even touch this. Nope. Oh well, that can stay in there. Yeah, I know about the double nut thing. I don't have any half-inch nuts right here with me, so it's gonna have to be the way it is. Okay. Oh, look at that. Man, this thing is in really good shape. All these bearings and everything are super nice on this motor. Alright, we're going to do a camshaft pull here. Bolts out. Retainer bolts. There we go. These usually weigh about 900 pounds. Do. You know, it makes good sense why this hole is here now. Helps you get the cam out. All right. There she is. Definitely a lot of good parts on here still. Alright. This other half of the front structure should be ours now. Oh yeah. Perfect. Look at that. She is taken down as much as it'll possibly go on this end. This one's going to be a little harder. We need a little oomph. Need a little more oomph on this one. Oh. I still got a bolt somewhere. There it is. All this grease really makes it tough. There we go. There we go. Woo! There's another 5,000 pounds of beef. We are torn down as much as we can go without flipping the engine over, so I'm not sure. Right now the skid steer's got some track issues, which you guys will be seeing in a video. I was running it the other day and one of the tracks broke. And I got a new track on the way, so we're gonna wait till that comes in. I can run it because it only broke halfway, but I'd rather not. I really want to get this motor pulled apart, and I'd like to just pick it up, but I think what I'm going to try to do is knock it over. I probably don't have anywhere's the amount of ass behind me to knock this thing over on its side, but I'm going to get this crap cleaned up and we're going to try. Yeah, these parts look really good. This cam really has minimal wear on it. Absolutely would consider putting this in an engine if I needed it, if a cam and lifter set got wiped out. So I'm gonna put it in this little Kubota engine right here. Only makes sense, right? Alright, you definitely want to preserve these things. A little bit of oil on it. I don't think that's going to rust anytime in my lifetime, especially if it's stored dry. It just so happens that I have the perfect box for this. I mean, look at this. This is nuts. I literally have the perfect box to put this cam in. Oh, I think it's heavy. There, I'll just wrap that up in tape and Good for another 3406. All right, we are going to try to flip this motor over on its side. I don't think I'm going to be able to. I'm only like 175 pounds, and this motor is easily, the way it is now, is probably pushing 1,000 pounds. So yeah, that's a lot of, that's a big difference. But I think this, bringing it over this way, I think is going to be easier. So I'm going to bash this thing back in here. See, I might not even have to bash anything. Because once this gets over on the side, I'm not going to be able to get under here. There we go. Alright, so that's in there. Alright, let's see. Hopefully you guys don't witness my death. Because this probably ain't the smartest thing I've ever done. I don't think I'm going to do it. I gotta be able to get the hell out of the way when this thing goes. I can do it. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. Alright. We'll figure something out here. I got the floor jack behind me and some other stuff, so one way or another we're gonna tip this damn thing over. Alright, I actually think I found a little bit safer approach to this. A little different leverage. I think I'm gonna do it. Yeah, we did it. Wow. All right. Good thing I wasn't standing on that pallet, but I had an idea that was going to happen. That's where a little bit of common sense goes a long ways, guys. When you're dealing with heavy stuff like this, it has no mercy. So now I can get pulling all these rod and main caps off. I didn't forget about the cooling nozzles for the piston. I just can't get to all of them because this crank is locked up for whatever reason. Probably because as hot as it got. So those are pretty valuable. So I'm going to try not to destroy any of them if possible. Oh. Oh, that sucks. That really sucks. This guy got this motor freaking hot because like nothing is normal. That's weird that you'd have to pound that on there. There we go. Now I ain't never gonna get that out of there. All right. Wow. That's crazy. There we go. All right. It's never the bottom one that's bad anyway. It's the top one that you'll see, but there's definitely some stuff going on here. We'll clean that off in a little bit and we'll inspect it a little better. Yeah, here comes the fun part of breaking all these loose. Yeah, those are on there. I still can't move this crank. Something's seized up. I bet you one of these main bearings are spun. Because the one that went bad is deleted. And that crank is scored really bad. I'd be surprised if that's fixable. Not to mention that got so hot it probably took the integrity out of the crank. I don't think that can be repaired. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. If that crank breaks, that could destroy a whole engine, so it's like risk and reward. Is it worth trying to send that crank off to get machined? These got never sees on them. Wonder if that's... I know this engine's been remanufactured before because it has the steel spacer plate between the head and the cylinder head and the block. I gotta say, that main really doesn't look too bad. Let's get a paper towel and see what that bearing looks like. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's definitely beat up, but it's nothing I can really feel. Of course, I got a glove on, but I mean, it's worn, definitely worn, but it's not like, you know, I mean, it's not bad. It's not terrible. There's some pretty deep, but rumor has it that he ran this after it broke, so, and it's obvious he did. So who knows how much of this damage was caused after that bearing spun. Obviously, from what I seen in the engine in the past and what I was told by other people, this rod bearing spun and it started knocking, and instead of going and shutting it down, he went and got pissed off and drove it about a mile like that with a, and I think they said he was grossing like over 100,000 pounds. So if he would have shut it down as soon as that bearing spun, it might have been a simple job, but then it ended up blowing the rod out the side. So and it's hard to say what you do in that situation. Probably illegal as all hell, and if you get caught, you know, that's a hell of a fine. So I don't know, it's hard to say if the decision is right, unless you're there in the moment. I'm gonna keep pulling these off. This project might go into tomorrow, which would just be an instant for you guys, because my back is starting to hurt and I got a lot more of these caps to pull off, and I don't have my big air compressor air gun in this shop yet, so I do all this by hand. All right, after a lot of beating, I got this Harbor Freight piston out, but I cannot get the rod through the, because you could see that this thing got opened up big time when she smashed through the block, and this got broken off. But check it out. Anybody that knows cat motors knows that, and it ain't just cat, it's really, this isn't good. These are pretty deteriorated. But this got hot also. I have to keep that in mind, because this is kind of, but anyway, you're probably already noticing there is absolutely no cavitation on this liner at all. I mean, there's this minimal little rust, and that's probably most likely from just sitting around for months and months. This frickin' liner looks like brand new. I mean, there's usually pitting and cavitation in these liners. And I mean, there's 5 more to go, so there could be one. But this liner looks frickin' new. You could see where it was getting hot right there. That just might be from normal wear and tear. It's kind of hard to say, but it's crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was trying to just beat the piston out and the whole liner started coming, so I said, well, great. Really is weird though. I've never really seen this before. I'm not the, I mean, I know a lot about motors, but I am no means a, like, I don't know everything about every model and everything, but this is really weird. This is a shim right here, almost like somebody counterboard this at one time, because I know on the A models the liners sink, and all the cats the liners can sink, and then they have to counterbore them, and those guys that already know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. But this is crazy. This is like a 1/4 inch thick. Is that normal on an A model to have that shim there, or is that because it had to be counterbored when it was rebuilt? But that's crazy. Usually when they counterbore these, the shims are only like a couple thousandths of an inch. I mean, this is like a 1/4 inch thick almost, that shim. So I don't know, I'm curious. Anybody that knows, I'd be happy to hear some input in the comments. I don't claim to be a know-it-all, and I am far from a know-it-all. I'm always willing to learn. I've never seen a counterbore shim that thick. I guess the real test is gonna be to pull the rest of them out, and then I can see. But yeah, I got that one out. Oh yeah, and then I got this piston too. Wrist pins and everything feel really good. I'm gonna keep these pistons around, at least 5 of them anyway. And that's an actual cat piston. I mean, this motor looked like it was in beautiful shape. None of the rings are cracked. They're not stuck. The rings to me look like they're in pretty darn good shape. So I'm gonna keep these around, because I know like the rods and stuff, you can reuse them and all that. So keep these all. There's the part number. I'm gonna try to keep the main caps with them. I think I'm gonna call it a night. Come back tomorrow or a couple days from now and keep breaking these apart. See what I could find. I'll keep you guys posted with anything that I find that's really interesting. Welcome to another episode of High Volt. Oh wait a minute. This is the same video. That's right. This is just day 2. That's right. I've been inhaling too much motor oil from this engine. Anyway, so yeah, day 2. I spent the last half hour breaking loose all these main bolts, and now we're going to take all the caps off and inspect the bearings. Alright, let's see what some of these look like. Just pull them all off first. I'm not worried about keeping track of them, because this engine has driven its last mile. This one's coming off hard, and this is right next to the one that blew the bearing, so. Oh yeah, that one's got some damage. Alright, let's clean these off and we'll get right back. Alright, who's ready to see some damage? And a lot of it. Alright. So there's the rod that blew, number 5. There's the bearing to the right of it, well, the journal. There's a line around there, it wipes off, but the bearing itself is scored really bad. And here we have a spun bearing. That right there is why I couldn't rotate the crank. Now the crank rotates Well, at least it moves a little bit, but it was locked right up before. I couldn't spin it for nothing. And that's why I thought I had a spun main bearing, because the rod that blew wasn't even attached anymore. So that must have got really hot, which caused that to get really hot and spin. So that's really, really bad. So I'm pretty sure this crank is junk. It's all scored. It's probably really compromised by the heat. And all the rest of the bearings don't look terrible. You know, like I said previously, it's hard to say if a lot of this was caused before or after, because he drove it a mile or so after it started knocking really bad. But there's the one with the line on it. That is a pretty darn deep gouge right there. And here is our spun bearing. That is that is really, really bad. Like, the texture on that is crazy. There's the lower. Very bad. It's all tore up on the side. It's like melted there. Not melted, but it got smashed. And there's the top one. The top one was actually on the bottom. I actually had to do a little bit of messing around to get the bottom one out. The bottom one's always where the wear is. But the rest of these don't look terrible. That's a pretty deep gouge, but I mean, all in all, I mean, they don't look abnormal for a, you know, an engine that came out in 1973, the A model. I'm not really sure what the serial number of this engine is, nor do I really care. I'm assuming it's probably like a 92U, like most of the rest of them. But I don't really care, because it doesn't really matter. So I got a little bit of bluing here, but that's just oil that just wipes off. Everything else looks pretty darn good. So now that I got this thing freed up, now I can actually rotate it a little bit. Now I actually have a chance in getting the rest of these oil cooling jets and rods out of here. So let's see how far I make it. Looks like I already made it as far as I'm gonna. Yeah, it would definitely be better if I could just pick this crank out of here with the skid steer, but skid steer still broke down as we speak, so I just gotta fight with this thing by hand to try to get it apart by myself. And I know, let's hear it in the comments. Bring it on, all the keyboard cowboys and gear jamming junkies out there. I don't know how to take an engine apart. I'm prying on all the main journals and stuff. I'm gonna ruin it. I'm gonna ruin this engine. You know what? I think that's already done. There's no sense in being careful. Somebody wants the crank, they can have it. If they think they can save a old piece of iron with this crank before I scrap it, hit me up. It's yours. You can have it for free. You could have the block too. What am I gonna get for scrap out of it? 100 bucks? If somebody wants to repair that block and repair that crank and run it, by all means, you can have it. Come and get it. But to me, it's not worth it. So, all right, well, these pistons are gonna be a pain to get out because this thing sat all summer and these cylinders got full of rust and stuff. So these are gonna be fun to try to beat out without damaging. I really don't want to damage the pistons or the rods, because that I might be able to reuse, possibly, and if I had an emergency scenario come up with an engine. So there we go. I tell you what, I really miss that skid steer when I don't have it. That'd be so easy just to throw a couple straps on this and pick it right out. We got it. We got it without the old skid steer. This crank's probably 1,800 freaking pounds. Let that roll over on my feet. It looks like it's a freaking shame too, because this looks like it was a good running engine. There, now you can see the damage quite a bit better. All these other journals look great. I mean, they really do. It's a freaking shame. Everything on this looks so nice. I don't know if that, I don't know. What do you think, guys? Should I scrap it or keep it? I don't know. You know, now that I got it out, it really doesn't look like it's really that bad. What do you think? Scrap it or keep it? Or give it away? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got all the pistons out. This one's got a little damage. But all in all, guys, I don't see any broken rings. All the rings are free. None of the rings are seized up. Everything looks great. There's no scoring on anything. This is the worst bearing I've seen. I don't know what's going on here, but again, how much of this stuff happened after? Oh yeah, and there's this bearing too. But it's not terrible. How much of this stuff happened after it spun the bearing, you know? I mean, I think when this engine was running, it was a good running engine. I mean, there's no play in anything that's excessive. Everything is just in really good shape on this. The inside of the liners look good. I'm gonna pop them out next. So I got this $300 cat liner extraction tool right here, and all you do is you put it in and you whack it with a big hammer and the liners come right out. They're supposed to come out. Sometimes it takes a couple tries. Well, I just gotta admit it, I got this one here from Harbor Freight that just split. That's right, guys, I forgot. This is the Harbor Freight one. This is the cat tool right here, the cat liner extractor. That one's split, so we're gonna try this one out. Well, it just goes to show you, authentic cat tools are worse than Harbor Freight tools. Look at this. The cat one split in 4 pieces. The Harbor Freight one only split in 2. And we still got 1 liner to get out. So I'm gonna have to call and order another one and wait 3 weeks for it to come in. All right, like I said, 3 weeks later, and the new liner extraction tool finally came in. I got the extra large one this time. All right, this one here is manufactured by Splitsburg. So, got 1 more to do. See if we can just get it done. There. All right. That's the trick right there, the Splitsburg ones. That made easy work of it. Okay. All right, let's check out the damage. All the way from one to the other. Oh, okay. We actually do have some surprises in here. All right, so it looks like the O-rings are pretty much all shot on all of them. They're like all messed up. It's weird. This top thing's strange. I don't remember seeing that. I don't know if that comes off or what the deal it is. I don't know. Whatever. I don't have to know everything about the technicalities. When I get a rebuild kit, I just follow the instructions and put it together. Let somebody else do all the math and figuring it out. All right, so we do have some really bad cavitation right here. That's actually pretty deep. I think this motor still would have ran quite a while. There's some pretty good cavitation right there too. It's actually really deep. Oh yeah, there's some even worse cavitation right there. Wow, that's wicked deep right there. None of it's through though. I mean, it might be through, but I'm not gonna go through and inspect this thing with a fine-tooth comb. It really doesn't matter. I know on some of these engines, some liners cavitate worse than others because of where the cooling passages are and the returns and stuff like that, but it's weird because that one here is cylinder number 4 and that one was right next to the return, well, for the oil cooler, so you think that one actually would have been happiest, but all the rest of these are freaking nice. Like seriously, the rest of these liners are really nice. Like look at this, these things look like brand new. Brand new. You could tell where they definitely got hot. There is absolutely some discoloration, but the cross hatches are still in there. I mean, they're not super glazed over, a little bit, but the cross hatches are still in there. And they're discolored a little bit, but this truck got ran really hard. Supposedly this truck was used for like quarry stuff like I do. It was always like over 120,000 pounds or whatever, and it was running up the thruway all day, every day, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. and never had a break. And to boot all, they had green antifreeze in this, which if you're a cat guy, you know that putting the green antifreeze in these is not a good idea. And that's probably part of where that cavitation came from. You're supposed to run the red cat high glycol antifreeze in these, and that helps prevent cavitation. Can't say it stops it, but it helps prevent it. But for this truck, knowing its history sort of, and knowing how bad it was abused, I gotta say I'm very impressed on the way everything is. This injection pump here, you know what, if the old International ever needs any parts, I have plenty. You know, this is what's nice. This is why I bought this truck. I figured everything on this would be usable except for the block, the crank, and one hole. And then all the other parts, you know, I mean, all the other parts I could probably reuse. I don't think I'd reuse the liners. But you know what? When you're poor, if you blow a liner and a piston and a liner, hey, get new O-rings, put it in, and let's go, you know? You know, you get all these guys out there that they say, oh, you gotta professionally rebuild engines and stuff like that. You know what? That's for rich people. When, you know, watch them TV shows, the YouTube videos they got where the guys in like India and Pakistan, they rebuild these engines on the side of the road. They don't torque nothing. They do it on the side of the road where it's dusty, barefoot. And they just put everything back together. And I mean, those engines, you know, I don't know the history and how long they run, but I bet you they run longer than you think they would. Yeah, I understand things have to be precise, especially the liner protrusion and stuff like that on these things. But if you're down and out and you got to get by and you need parts to get by, you know, my whole life I've been mix matching parts, throwing things together. You know, pull a piston out of this and put it in that, and rob Peter to pay Paul, and you know, use you know, different lifters and different cams, and you know, all the way from car engines all the way up to truck engines, and I've never had anything bite me in the ass. Granted, I take care of everything. I religiously change the oil on everything. I don't get it hot. Even though these engines will hog their way up a hill and lug them down to 1,000 RPMs, you know what? Drop a couple gears and run the RPMs up higher, and you know, just let it do the job. It's like a saw. Let the saw do the work. You know, it's not like you're gonna cut through a whole tree with a little saw with 2 strokes. Just let the saw do the work. Same thing with a bicycle. We all know how to ride bicycles, I would hope. Going up a hill with a bike, you'd want to use a lower gear. You can go up in a higher gear, but you're really going to work yourself. The engines are the same way. You know, the engines in my vehicles, you know what? Yeah, I could show off. I can lug them right down to nothing and just, you know, I could go up a hill with my International probably 70 miles an hour with a skid steer on the back and just lug that thing right down, and you know, get it up to 220 degrees, and you know, turn the injection pump up and get 40 pounds of boost out of it. I'm sure I could do all that. But you know what? I'm all right letting it just go up the hill and only having, you know, 15, 20 pounds of boost and running in at, you know, 1,800 to 2,200 RPMs, and just letting everything just do its job. I guarantee it, this truck here was ran right down and dirty up all the hills, and it probably got so damn hot. And that's the kind of stuff that happens. Probably never had the oil changed on it. I mean, look at it. Look at this thing. It just got abused. My trucks don't look like this. I take care of stuff. I'm always just taking care of everything. The engines, keeping the grease off of them so I can work on them. Keeping everything in tip-top shape the best I can with the budget I have to work with. Well, the only thing to do now is to get this mess cleaned up. I'm probably gonna keep two of the best liners out of here, just in case. And they're, you know, they're good to have for, I could use that for like something to, like a jig or something if I need to. We'll figure out what we're gonna do with the crank. It's awful tempting to try to fix this block, but I don't think it's worth it. This would have to be line bored. That hole, who knows what else is cracked. There could be like micro fractures all in where that rod blew out the side. I mean, this hole is huge. It goes all the way up there. I think I'm gonna write the block off, but I got a lot of good parts out of it though. My International needs a water pump, and this water pump was just put on shortly before this thing blew up. Hopefully I can get away with just putting this in the International and just getting a gasket kit to do so. The guys that worked on this truck said that they put the water pump in, and they seem like they were pretty honest people, so it looks like it's in good shape. Nothing feels bad on it, so that'll be one of the upcoming videos. I don't know exactly when, at some point hopefully, because the old International is leaking the coolant out of the weep hole pretty good when I run it and when I don't run it, especially now that there's snow on the ground. There's a little bit of red under it and it's coming out of there, so it's basically there to tell you to replace the pump. I got all these parts, nothing here is busted up. I got these valve cover risers, I got the front structure here, both pieces, the back piece to front piece. I got a flywheel housing that's got straight motor mounts on it to motor mounts on. All that's good, none of that's broke, so that's really good to have in case you ever gotta swap some kind of configuration around. Good injection pump system. I don't know if it's any good, but supposedly it ran up until the day it died, so I'm assuming it's good. The only thing I'd be worried about with this is that this Billy Big Rigger stuff here, there's a good chance that somebody that didn't know what they were doing got inside this pump somehow and turned the fuel up on it to give it more power. And something was definitely done, because these old cats, a lot of them were painted white, and this is a mix between yellow parts and white parts. All the shaft and everything is white, and then all this stuff, some of this is white, and then that's yellow, and then that's white, and that's yellow. So somebody's been in here before doing something. Chances are they probably turned it up so it'd have 20,000 horsepower, and that's why it broke. I don't know why people do that. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone. That's the way it was. The way it was made stock is the way it was made to run. Got a nice fuel pump here. Looks like it's in good shape. If I ever need a fuel pump, whether it's good or not, I got a 50-50 shot. I'm gonna keep everything I can, of course. These stupid heat shields they put on these cat motors are absolutely garbage. I have no idea. Well, they're not heat shields. They're some kind of insulation, probably for like the Arctic deal and stuff like that. Oh yeah, we didn't check these out yet either. The thrust bearings. These actually look like immaculate condition. These thrust bearings have like no wear at all on them. So those are good. We got all the main bolts, all the rod bolts are all still good. So we got extras. Oil cooler. I'm gonna take this oil cooler apart for further inspection, but this is another one of those things. The rest of the motor was painted white and the oil cooler is yellow. It doesn't look like it's new, but it looks like it's probably a takeoff out of something. I know you can send these out to get tested, but these are, I mean, I don't know, the last time I bought one of these was over 10 years ago, and it was, I think, $700 or something, remanufactured or aftermarket, whatever it was. So I'm sure they're probably double that. They're probably $2 grand now. So I'm gonna keep this hanging around for sure. I'm sure it was good. Seeing how they just put a water pump on it shortly before it broke, and that looked like it was replaced, I'm assuming that is a used good takeoff off of a different motor that they put on that. So I'm assuming that's good. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep all this stuff. All these little pieces are getting super hard to find. And I got the head and everything, but the head is complete, and I'm gonna keep that complete. Like the manifold, the head actually looks really nice, even though that it sucks because that piston, this piston right here, that went full Harbor Freight, you can see where that smashed them valves really hard. And it doesn't look like the head is cracked. Oh yeah, and that's another thing, the head, go ahead and watch my previous videos of the 81 Peterbilt where I took all this stuff apart. You'll see all this. But that head wasn't painted, which tells me that that head was replaced at one time. Whether it's aftermarket one, I don't know how to tell. But unfortunately, this hit so hard it split the piston. So I definitely, before I went and put that head on something, I would probably want to at least wire brush it and maybe send it out to get magnafluxed or something to see if it's cracked. These valves, there's a good chance that the valves are bent or the valve seats are bad, because to smash them valves so hard that this piston splits like that, you usually just don't walk away from it. There's probably some significant damage, most likely, so that stinks. But the head, other than that, the head looks beautiful. The exhaust manifold, none of the studs are broke off the exhaust manifold. The turbo that came off of this looks good. So, but anyway, that's enough bragging about all the parts I got off of this stupid thing. So the only thing left to do now is clean this mess up. That's got to wait till the skid steer gets fixed. The new track's coming in. Got to get that fixed, and I can come in here and get this, because I am not about to try to get that thing out of here myself. No way. We will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching High Voltage Diesel. Take care. Make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And again, we'll see you in the next video. Peace.